Okay, welcome everybody out there to the Park Commissioners meeting for May 1st. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers.
Here.
Mr. Emmerich.
Here.
Ms. Westfall.
Here.
Okay, we have before us our meeting minutes of April 3rd. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
They are approved. As far as reports, Mr. Drake, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you have anything to add to your report, sir?
Nothing to add. I just would comment that in my report, you notice that I'd included a kind of a maintenance and capital improvements list. I know you and I believe it was Levi at the time, end of last year, began to talk about some of the projects we've accomplished since I had taken over superintendent. And, you know, we've been talking a lot about how much more proactive we are in our maintenance program rather than reactive. And I think these are just some of the more major projects that we've taken on. It's certainly not totally inclusive, all-inclusive of what we've accomplished, but I think it's indicative of some of the types of things that we've been trying to get done. And, you know, the maintenance as you go through our park shows by some of these projects that we've been able to accomplish. So just wanted to recap that, put all that together. Also had given that to Austin Idemiller, an intern that's working on our Parks Master plan, part of that MKSK study that came back saying we needed a master plan. As part of his master's program, he's working on that plan, has submitted that, I believe, to his professor, but is also taking it a bit further, and we'll be presenting that to the board sometime soon. So good. This is something that I had given to him as well to include. But anyway, just wanted to touch on that and let you know that's why I had included that.
We talked about this in the past, and I'm glad that you're doing this. The park department does so much more than just cut grass.
Correct.
And I think this shows it.
Absolutely.
So I would encourage you to keep up this
Okay.
report.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Any questions for our park superintendent? Okay, Mr. Seiler,
Good afternoon.
how are you today?
Good, yourself?
Okay, do you have anything to add to your report?
I just wanted to touch on item number 3 of the report related to the Parks and Recreation beverage agreement. I'd attached in your packet proposals that we received. The current beverage agreement with Pepsi expires this month, and so we had put out for a request for proposals about 6 weeks ago, and we received a proposal from both Pepsi and Coke. The request for proposal was for both fountain and bottled product. And the summary that I put on the page titled Beverage RFP Review kind of summarizes the 2 proposals from both Pepsi and Coke, along with their pricing structure. And Coke had submitted another proposal for bottled product only, which would not be feasible for us at either the arena or at the pool, just simply from a labor perspective and what all's involved with hauling bottles around and the storage of all of that product as well. So I summarized the comparison between the two. As you'll see, the annual payment from Pepsi is greater than what Coke's annual payment is. And then the other important piece is down at the bottom of the page, the product pricing. The 5-gallon bag-in-the-box pricing of Pepsi versus Coke and the 3-gallon bag-in-the-box pricing between Pepsi and Coke is significantly different, which would result in significantly different profit margins by going with Pepsi versus Coke. And then on the second page, we just kind of compared the profit margins for fountain drinks between, again, Pepsi and Coke of about 15 cents more profit per beverage sold through Pepsi versus Coke. So based on their proposals, it's the recommendation that we would continue to go with Pepsi based on their product pricing for their fountain drinks, also based on their annual payments, the $5,000 versus the $3,000. The contract would be the same as what it was this past time. It would be for a 5-year period of time. and then the option to renew for three one-year additions and over and above that 5-year contract. Pepsi's been good to work with the last several years. Their service seems to have actually improved over the past couple years and gotten better than maybe it was a few years back, but all in all, we've been very, very pleased with their service and also the work that they had done helping us to get up and operable at the arena as well. So I don't know if you have any questions at all. I know it's a lot of information there between their proposals and also with those summary pages.
I reviewed it before we had the meeting today, and it just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah,
I like significant savings. And
exactly. And you had indicated, or maybe you didn't indicate, that the Recreation Board's already approved the Pepsi contract, is that correct?
Yes, the Recreation Board approved the contract agreement at their April board meeting.
Any questions of Mr. Seiler concerning the contract? Okay, we'll entertain a motion one way or the other. Guys, what do you want to do?
motion to approve the Pepsi contract.
Motion to approve Pepsi. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes?
Mrs. or Mr. Emmerich?
Yes.
Ms. Westfall?
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Okay. Mr. Seiler, do you have anything else to report?
I believe that's all I have to.
Do we have any questions of Mr. Seiler? I've got one.
Yes.
My wife and I take advantage of walking the interior of the Hobart Arena.
Yes.
There is a vending machine near the ice hockey locker rooms.
Yes.
Is that must be our vending machine?
The snack machine?
Yeah.
Yes, it is ours.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because it dispenses, it dispenses tape at the bottom level.
Yes, it does, for hockey.
I thought that was funny.
Oh.
Wrap
We
the,
found that it was a benefit to provide that in the vending machine, and it's actually sold very well out of there,
I
so.
bet, there's all these drinks, all these snacks, and then we have tape.
Tape and mouth guards.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's right. Okay, well, thank you. Mr. Brewer, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Do you wish to be out there playing golf today?
It's a busy day finally, which is good.
Well, tell us, do you have anything to add to your report?
I would just like to add a couple dates that kind of have been set for, or tentative dates that have been set for the renovation, just to keep you all up to date with that. So the final plans are being made, and some of those tentative dates, we're looking at going through advertising starting on May 16th, with bids due by June 20th, and then a contractor would be selected by July 4th is the plan, which would then give us 2 months then to kind of iron out some details and go through all the pre-construction things that need to happen there, with construction, again, tentatively starting for September 4th. So those are just some dates to keep in mind as we move forward, and that's all I have to add at this point.
Thank you for keeping us abreast of that. You might want to just go ahead and send any further notices about those meetings to the three of us also.
Okay.
The danger on any of us attending any of those meetings is that one of us can attend, but if two of us attend, we have to tell the media, right, Sue?
If two of you are there, you are a
We have-
majority of the board,
we
and so
have
that
to-
does, yes.
we have to let the
But
media know.
he's talking about, dates when the bids would be opened.
Yeah.
And so following that, we would provide the board with information as to the bidders. But I believe this is in the budget of the Capital Improvement Fund, so therefore the contracting party will be the Director of Public Service and Safety. But, we would be consulting with the board and keeping
But
them
there's also
advised
some
of it.
construction meetings coming up.
Yes.
So I may
Not
want to attend those.
Right. Those wouldn't be for a while, but yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks. Mr. Brewer, anything else?
I know at the previous meeting, I don't know if the board had planned on making a vote regarding T-signs or not. That was something that had
Did you
been.
bring a presentation today or anything, or?
I don't have a presentation. I was working with Sue, as far as, I have a proposal from Tim Boutwell from Golf Graphics,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if.
I thought we left it with the law director.
Well,
Where we at?
Kyler brought in the proposal. I have turned it into a draft RFP request, which is what the law director advised we would have to do, was to send out requests for proposals to
Okay.
companies like the one that gave this to you to see who
Right.
wanted to submit proposals.
Okay.
And in that, working in, what were the controls that we wanted also. So that I have sent as a draft to the director of law and to the executive director of our insurance pool to look at, so that we can have a good draft request for proposal to send out.
Okay.
So I think Kyler sent that to me like about a week or so
Yeah,
ago, and
yeah.
so I have turned it into at least one draft so far.
Yeah, the minutes indicate that we were going to review that draft, the RFP that was approved at this meeting, so
Yes.
I'll have to wait until next
Yes.
meeting.
Yep.
Because I need to work it through, want to look at the type of insurance we're going to be looking for, because, basically, we want someone else to insure these, because they're the ones who are going to be selling them, and making sure we have that type of wording in. But also, controls as far as the board may want, and there's kind of some blanks in there, like the percentage of the sign itself that may be for advertising. I don't know what that's going to be. That's going to be something that'll have to be determined. I don't know if you want to specify colors. That's another item. Overall size was one thing the director of law wanted to look at, because he said, you don't want a blend board. You want to control that. Do we want them storing them during the winter as opposed to us? And particularly, that might be something, to look at. So, well, there's certain things that we'll have to, we can't have certain control over. We do want to say that they cannot discriminate. Maybe you don't want to have more than one advertiser have one sign. So
Those things will all be in the RFP,
those will be in there. When you see it, it's going to have some blanks, and those
Sure.
blanks will have to be determined.
and we'll discuss that then at our
Right,
next
but
meeting.
as far as some of the nuts and bolts of, as far as, the insurance and making sure we have an indemnification clause and all that,
Mm-hmm.
that we have all the information we would want from any vendor. Now, maybe there will only be one vendor, but, you have to have that to look
Sure.
at.
Abby, would you put that on the agenda for next month's meeting, please? Anything else, Kyler?
No, that would be it.
Any questions for our golf professional? Okay, thank you. I don't have any planning commission report, nothing affecting the park board's been issued on the planning commission side. We talked about the beverage contract, no old business, we have new business. A period of time ago, we've got a donation. This is back in February. Mike and Annette Cargill donated a strip of land next to the skate park to the Board of Park Commissioners. I could swear we discussed it back in yonder, but it doesn't appear in our minutes anywhere. So what this was is, if you know where the skate park is, there's also, back in the back, there's the mounds where they jump their bikes and things like that. And then you've got that first house. Okay, at that first house, they had a very narrow strip of land. If this is their lot here, they had a land piece that was going down like this.
Okay,
And what they donated was this, because our park was right here.
okay.
Okay, so this is what they donated. We had it surveyed. What brought it to our attention was that he wanted to go ahead and take it as a charitable deduction, which he's entitled to do because he donated it to the city. But when we looked at it, we never accepted the gift. So I make a motion to accept the donation from Mike and Annette Cargill, retroactive to February 24th, 2017. And that would be for lot number 10680 in the city of Troy.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Sue, you look pensive.
I didn't intend to.
Okay. Abby, please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
Mr. Emmerich.
Yes.
Ms. Westfall.
Yes.
Oh, motion approved.
Sue, is there anything we've done wrong here?
No?
Mr. Davis, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Did you want to address the park board?
I was just going to ask if Sue was going to bring up Wilderness Wednesdays.
I was going to, but I hadn't been asked yet.
Okay. They thought you were bringing it up today, I was just informed about.
Yes. Okay.
Wasn't on the agenda.
No, it's
You want to go ahead and talk about it?
yes, on behalf of
Would
Troy.
you go to the podium and state your name? No,
I
never mind.
would, but I can barely walk.
Then go ahead.
Troy Main Street would like to add like a little attraction downtown on Wednesdays around noontime, use of the green space on Prouty Plaza, which would require that we would not be sprinkling during that time. It might be ladies demonstrating yoga or something like that, nice passive land, just something, to show how the downtown green space can be interactive in a variety of ways. And so I said I would bring this to the board and see if you would consider it for approval. It's not going to require, there's no requirement for electric, there's no requirement for sound other than what they might plug in. If the showmobile is there, it won't be in the way. If the stage is set up, I don't know that sometimes they might be up there, but we would have the Troy Main Street Insurance to take care of that. So it's just a little way to look at how the downtown could be used differently.
I think it's a good idea. This is park property, they have the right to use that if they're not going to require services.
Right.
But I think what you're looking for is maybe a reservation on Wednesdays.
Just more of making sure that you're aware of it and do not have any
Okay,
any
why don't we
concerns about it.
just note in the file that it was addressed at the park board meeting, we're aware of it now. How's that?
And the closest thing to a service is that we're not sprinkling during those. And it's going to be every Wednesday coming up, starting before long.
Okay, this would go through probably September, October possibly?
Thereabouts.
Thereabout,
Mhm,
okay.
Yeah.
I also want to bring to everybody's attention, now that we don't have a crowd here, that I just received the brochure from the Hainer Cultural Center for the downtown Friday night events on Prouty Plaza, as well as those on Treasure Island. And you might want to take a look at those because there's some real nice concerts coming up
Yes.
and some nice activities. So,
And we're really glad that Hainer works with the city, works with the Troy Foundation, Troy Main Street to make sure that, and with Ken, to make sure we have a pretty consolidated list so that people know what's going on. I mean, you can find out all the civic band dates, and other things that aren't concerts but are on some of these properties. It's really nice.
right. Okay, anything else, Sue?
No, sir.
Mr. Davis, anything else? Anybody else have anything they want to discuss? Mr. Jeremy?
This is per David Palmer with Troy Athletics. The Troy varsity softball team will be having a postseason home game. There's 2 dates, May 7th for sure, and then if they win, they would also have a May 9th game. This is for North Market Street softball field. And they're asking that they could charge admission per OHSAA rules. And then also Troy baseball would have a postseason home game on May 10th. And that is just one home game.
These are district games, right, or sectional games, whatever they're called?
Postseason tournament games,
Yeah.
correct.
Right. And we've done this before. Anybody have any questions of Mr. Drake on that? Okay, entertain a motion.
Motion to
Approve.
approve.
Motion to approve, and there's a second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll, Abby.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes?
Mr. Emmerich?
Yes.
Ms. Westfall?
Yes.
Motion approved.
You'll pass that on, then,
Sure,
please.
thank you.
Do you have anything else?
That's all.
I
Okay.
just have one.
Yes.
I just wanted to know if there was some kind of a timeline or something in the works to use the Hills Camp land or to incorporate that into Duke Park, or what's the status of that?
The status, I think, is lack of money.
Okay.
We've got a plan, or there has been a plan, but the levy did not pass.
Right.
So the monies weren't generated. Right now, that property is being rented for a farmer to use. Do we use the barn as storage, Jeremy? Anything?
Very little. I think the arenas was using part of it, and I think all that stuff's been moved out. So I don't think anything is left in there.
Have we tried to sell the house and
We
barn?
actually just talked about that, trying to have the house and barns has been, and I believe it's 2.5 acres have been plotted off, and we're in the works of trying to get that appraised for possible sale.
Once that's done, we'll have to go ahead and approve that sale.
Correct.
And that'd be the next thing that comes before us.
That'd be the house and barns, and then right now
Yeah.
we'll keep the land in.
As future expansion, yeah. Finish your question.
I guess, I just, every year that the fields flood, I feel bad for the kids. I mean, I know it went down fast, but,
Yeah, I agree.
and some of the things that were on the levee, like the golf stuff, were already done. So I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe that's the city that has to,
What was the estimate for all that? That was,
Well, we had it lumped together, I don't know the breakout right off without the golf course piece.
I think it was like 3.5 million for the Duke
It's
Park.
going to be more, I think more than that.
More than that?
I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
We don't have that in our capital improvements budget.
No.
Okay, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Mrs. Westfall, Mr. Emmerich, the second.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?